I'm Davide Crepaldi, I'm 39 years of age, and I'm an associate professor in cognitive neuroscience here at SISA in Trieste, Italy, where I lead the Reading, Learning and Language Lab in the Cognitive Neuroscience department. I graduated in psychology, and I started off studying psychology because I was attracted by what people typically believe psychology to be, so clinical psychology. And then I ended up being interested in very different things. So I ended up studying cognitive neuroscience, essentially because I went to this class that I didn't even expect to have in my programs of studies, and I was just illuminated. It just seemed the thing that I wanted to do in my life. Probably also thanks to the teacher, who was very, very enthusiastic about the material that he was teaching on. And then he eventually became my PhD supervisor and first mentor. Essentially, I coordinate the activity of the lab, so I do a little bit of everything, really, from experiment design to the preparation of the material, to data analysis. I don't do much data collection myself, although I always try to participate a little bit in that activity too. And then I oversee the activity of the lab in general. I make sure that people are connected, that the different experiments that we do are comprehensively addressing the research question in the lab. And most importantly, I try to make the environment the best possible environment for people to work. So I want them to be motivated, to be happy, to come to work with joy, and to do good science. Well, language is very fascinating for a number of reasons. First of all, it's super complex, and that's probably the most obvious thing for everyone to appreciate. But at the same time, it's incredibly easy for us to use in our everyday life. So that's a little bit of a mystery, right? So how can our brain deal so nicely and so spontaneously and so easily with such a complex object? And then in particular, the question that I become most fascinated with is, how is it possible to explain this phenomenon? Possibly this phenomenon, this apparent complexity, may come from very simple mechanisms in the brain in the end. And that's more or less what we're trying to study now in the lab. So the research that we do is fundamental research, so it's not directly inspired by practical and societal issues. Said that though, as pretty much all fundamental research, it may have consequences in the future, and actually it builds the condition for science-informed practices and policies in the real world outside of academia, of course. In our specific case, we may think of something like the best possible strategy to teach reading and teach literacy to the kids, which is currently matter of quite intense debates. And there may also be clinical implications for helping people who suffer from dyslexia, either as a kid, so essentially developmental dyslexia, or as a consequence of brain injury, so acquired dyslexia in adulthood. So I got this position in SISA, and I'm super happy to be working here. It's a wonderful department, so I think I see myself here again in 10 years. Scientifically, I'm very happy with what I have achieved so far. So I would like to progress on the same track and maybe try to see all of the seeds that we are essentially trying to cultivate right now in the forms of these different experiments coming together and provide this answer, like a general answer to how is it that the brain deals with language.